My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
But Caramundo also thinks graffiti can provide discipline and structure. Pica told reporter Michelle Young,
"We hope to encourage the youth to learn more and read more. We hope they discover what life has to offer outside their daily life. The young people learn about graffiti techniques, but they are also learning art, culture, and language. Letters are important in graffiti, which means that reading and writing are also taught in the workshops." Some street artists in Brazil even say that doing graffiti saved them. Marcos Rodrigo Neves is a graffiti artist in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro. Rodrigo grew up in a very dangerous part of the city. Many of his friends died from using illegal drugs. Rodrigo says that painting graffiti kept him away from drugs and violence. Recently, the government paid Rodrigo to paint 4 large pieces. These were on display during a United Nations conference in 2012. Rodrigo will also be painting areas in the Port District of the city.
Rodrigo is one of many Brazilian graffiti artists who hope to become known around the world. There are already a few well-known Brazilian graffiti artists. Probably the most famous are twin brothers from Sao Paulo. They paint under the name Os Gêmeos. This means the twins in Portuguese. Os Gêmeos paint all around the world, from Scotland to Cuba to New York City. Their work is often political. They want to represent the opinion of the people of Brazil. For example, one of their pieces in Sao Paulo shows a donkey. The donkey's eyes are covered with a cloth blindfold. The donkey is also kicking a football and drinking alcohol. Spray-painted words say, "Corruption in a country for all people." This is Os Gêmeos' statement about corruption and the unfair political practices in Brazil during elections.
Os Gêmeos also use their work to share Brazilian culture. Their paintings show respect for family life and Brazilian traditions. Os Gêmeos want to see more positive change in their country, but they also celebrate hope and the colourful life of Brazil. This is a major aim for all Brazilian graffiti artists. Nunca is a well-known graffiti artist from Sao Paulo. He uses many traditional elements in his painting. He often paints native Brazilians or indigenous people. Nunca was in a documentary film about graffiti called Vomit 2. In it, he explains the basic desire of many Brazilian graffiti artists.
As an artist, I explore my roots. it is important for me to be influenced by my roots because I was born and raised in Brazil. In my work, I try to get to the origins of Brazilian culture and what it means to be a Brazilian.
The writer of this program was Rena Dam. The producer was Nick Manjos. The voices you heard were from the United Kingdom and the United States. All quotes were adapted for this program.
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best. Flick to link, link to flick.
Because it's going to be really hard to live on Mars if we don't fundamentally modify the human body. Right? You go from one cell, mom and dad coming together to make one cell, in a cascade to 10 trillion cells. We don't know if you change the gravity substantially if the same thing will happen to create your body. We do know that if you expose our bodies, as they currently are, to a lot of radiation, we will die. So as you're thinking of that, you have to really redesign things just to get to Mars. Forget about the moons of Neptune or Jupiter. And to borrow from Karl Kardashev, let's think about life in a series of scales. So life one civilization is a civilization that begins to alter his or her looks. And we've been doing that for thousands of years. You know, you've got tummy tucks, and you've got this, and you've got that. You alter, your looks, and I'm told that not all of those alterations take place for medical reasons. Seems odd. A Life 2 civilization is a different civilization. A Life 2 civilization alters fundamental aspects of the body. So you put human growth hormone in, the person grows taller, or you put X in, and the person gets fatter, or loses metabolism, or does a whole series of things, but you're altering the functions in a fundamental way. To become an intra-solar civilization, we're going to have to create a Life 3 civilization. And that looks very different from what we've got here. Maybe you splice in Deinococcus radiodurans so that the cells can resplice after a lot of exposure to radiation. Maybe you breathe by having oxygen flow through your blood instead of through your lungs. But you're talking about really radical redesigns. And one of the interesting things that's happened in the last decade is we've discovered a whole lot of planets out there. And some of them may be Earth-like. The problem is, if we ever want to get to these planets, the fastest human objects, Juno and Voyager and the rest of the stuff, take tens of thousands of years to get from here to the nearest solar system. So if you want to start exploring beaches somewhere else, or you want to see two sunsets, then you're talking about something that is very different because you have to change the time scale and the body of humans in ways which may be absolutely unrecognizable. And that's a Life 4 civilization. Now, we can't even begin to imagine what that might look like, but we're beginning to get glimpses of instruments that might take us even that far. And let me give you two examples. So this is the wonderful Floyd Ramsberg. And one of the things that Floyd's been doing is he's been playing with the basic chemistry of life. So all life on this planet is made in ATCGs, the 4 letters of DNA. All bacteria, all plants, all animals, all humans, all cows, everything else. And what Floyd did is he changed out 2 of those base pairs. So it's ATXY. And that means that you now have a parallel system to make life, to make babies, to reproduce, to evolve, that doesn't mate with most things on Earth, or in fact, maybe with nothing on Earth. Maybe you make plants that are immune to all bacteria. Maybe you make plants that are immune to all viruses. But why is that so interesting? It means that we are not a unique solution. It means you can create alternate chemistries to us that could be chemistries adaptable to a very different planet that could create life and heredity. The second experiment, or the other implication of this experiment, is that all life is based on 20 amino acids. If you don't substitute 2 amino acids, if you don't say ATXY, if you say ATCG plus XY, then you go from 20 building blocks to 172. And all of a sudden you've got 172 building blocks of amino acids to build life forms in very different shapes. Second experiment to think about is a really weird experiment that's been taking place in China. So this guy has been transplanting hundreds of mouse heads, right? And why is that an interesting experiment? Well, think of the first heart transplants. One of the things they used to do is they used to bring in the wife or the daughter of the donor so the donee could tell the doctors, do you recognize this person? Do you love this person? Do you feel anything for this person? We laugh about that today. We laugh because we know the heart is a muscle, but for hundreds of thousands of years, or tens of thousands of years, I gave her my heart, she took my heart, she broke my heart. We thought this was emotion. And we thought maybe emotions are transplanted with the heart. Nope. So how about the brain? 2 possible outcomes to this experiment. If you can get a mouse that is functional, then you can see, is the new brain a blank slate? And boy, does that have implications. Second option, the new mouse recognizes Minnie Mouse. The new mouse remembers what it's afraid of, remembers how to navigate the maze, and if that is true, then you can transplant memory and consciousness. And then the really interesting question is, if you can transplant this, is the only input-output mechanism this down here? Or could you transplant that consciousness into something that would be very different, that would last in space, that would last tens of thousands of years, that would be a completely redesigned body that could hold consciousness for a long, long period of time? And let's come back to the first question. Why would you ever want to do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because this is the ultimate selfie. This is taken from 6 billion miles away, and that's Earth. And that's all of us. And if that little thing goes, all of humanity goes. And the reason why you want to alter the human body is because you eventually want a picture that says, that's us, and that's us, and that's us, because that's the way humanity survives long-term extinction. And that's the reason why it turns out it's actually unethical not to evolve the human body, even though it can be scary, even though it can be challenging. But it's what's going to allow us to explore, live, and get to places we can't even dream of today, but which our great-great-great-great-grandchildren might someday. Thank you very much.
Flick to link, a link to flick. My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
But Caramundo also thinks graffiti can provide discipline and structure. Pika told reporter Michelle Young,
We hope to encourage the youth to learn more and read more. We hope they discover what life has to offer outside their daily life. The young people learn about graffiti techniques, but they are also learning art, culture, and language. Letters are important.